one.
Okay, so this is a primer on all the cards in Kill the King. I've laid them all out. You'll see that there's multiples of 3 of the cards, and all the other cards are unique. So here's what the cards each do, what their abilities are. So the Assassin's ability is to kill a royal. So if you play the Assassin, you identify a specific card of another player. They flip it over and show you whether it's a royal or not. If it's a royal, it dies. The royal dies. If it's not a royal, the non-royal card does not die. And in either case, the assassin survives. So the assassin either successfully kills a royal and stays alive, or unsuccessfully tries to assassinate a royal and stays alive. That's the assassin. The guard is a defensive ability, so you can't play the guard's ability on your turn. It's a defensive ability. It blocks an assassination. So if somebody plays an assassin and I have a guard, I can flip over my guard instead of the card that they were attempting to assassinate, and block the assassination. The assassin does not die, the guard does not die, the assassination is just foiled. The knight's ability is related to their attack, so you don't use their ability separately than their attack, you just attack with the knight. But their ability is that when you attack successfully, so you kill someone, you gain permanently +1 to your strength. So if you use the knight and you kill an assassin, say, or a jester or a mimic or something like that, or a minion, most cards, they would then become an 8. They would now be an 8 in the game. And if they kill a second guy, they are a 9. They kill someone else, they're a 10. A kill can be either in attack or defense. So if someone weaker than the knight attacks the knight and dies, the knight would +1 their strength. The minion's ability requires you just kill the minion. So the minion sacrifices themselves for the benefit of another card that you have. The minion, either if it's your turn, you can kill the minion to permanently +1 any card that you have. So add 1 to the strength power of any card that you have. That's if it's your turn. If instead you're being attacked, so not an ability like an assassination, but an attack like the number is attacking another card, you can flip over, instead of flipping over the card that was attacked, you can flip over the minion and say, I am sacrificing my minion to block this attack so that the attack is foiled. Or you can sacrifice your minion to temporarily add 2 to the strength power of the card that's being attacked in order to win the defense. So say someone attacks the queen, say with the king, you could use your minion to buff the queen +2 so that she's an 11 temporarily, and then she would kill the king in defense. Or the princess could also do that. So there are some cards that on defense, with the help of the minion, can kill the king. Whichever one of the 3 abilities you use, the minion dies. The Necromancer's ability is to replace the Necromancer with a card from the dead pile. So there's always going to be at least 1 card in the dead pile here to start the game, and then as cards die, they add to the dead pile. If you play the Necromancer, you can look at all the cards in the dead pile, pick any card you want, put the Necromancer in the dead pile, and you now have the card that you selected, and you don't have to tell people what you took. The Jester allows you to trade cards with someone else. So if I play the Jester, I can either trade 1, 2, or 3 cards with someone else. The Jester has to be one of the traded cards. So I could say to Jack over here, I'm going to take my whole hand of 3, and I'm going to give it all to you, and I'm going to take your whole hand of 3, and I'm going to get it. The person who receives the Jester then puts the Jester in the dead pile and receives a random card from the dead pile in return. So you don't get the Jester in the trade, you get a random dead card instead. The Mimic allows you to mimic anyone else's ability or their attack power. So you flip over the Mimic, you say, I would like to use the attack power of this card, you point at a card, they flip it over, and then that number becomes your attack power for the purpose of that attack only. Then you identify another card that another person has to attack. Or you can say, I'd like to use the ability of this card. Then that person flips it over and you use their ability. So you could, if you use the ability of an assassin, it would be like you're an assassin for that purpose. If the attack results in someone dying, then either the card that's being attacked dies or the mimic dies, not the card that's being mimicked, right? So the mimic is for the purpose of that attack or ability, that card. And then they go back to being the mimic when that move is over. The prince has a one-time power, but you can choose between two one-time powers. So unlike most cards, the prince can only use their ability once. I guess the minion is the only other card that's like that. So they can either kill the king, just auto kill the king. So declare, I'm killing the king. But this is the only exception to killing the king wins the game. You don't win by doing that. You become the king and you become a +1 to whatever you were before king. So usually you would be a 6 and you would +1 yourself. So you'd become a 7 king. So you're a weaker new king. Or if you don't want to do that, you can permanently +3 the prince so that the prince is a 9, but then they have no ability. So they're just a 9. The princess has call for parents. So the princess allows you to point at any player and ask them to secretly show you their highest card. The queen has invite the king. So the queen allows you to point at any player and say, I think you have the king. If they do in fact have the king, they give you the king, which may result in you having 4 cards. If they don't have the king, they just say, I do not have the king, and nothing happens. And the king has no ability. The king is just a 10. And that's it.